on them, but I'll announce these brave soldiers here. Timothy McGuire, VP of IT, JS Health. As I announce your name, please step up here. Evelyn Travnik, CIO, the Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Biosustainability. Pete Dillon, Director of Information Technology, San Diego Zoo. Nimar Saikali, Director Information Technology, ECS. And you know, this is not easy to get the darts thrown at you. So please give them a round of applause. These guys are brave people. Okay. 2 minutes or less total, each of you, we get started. Yes, you just turn it on. I hope this is running, guys. Yeah? Can you see if it's running?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Here you go.
Yes.
Now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
All right. So, Evelyn, we'll start with you. 2 minutes or less each. Give your background, your organization and your background, and also lay out the premise of your prediction, and finally the prediction in 5 to 6 words, which I can write down here and then later on put on Twitter.
Okay.
2 minutes each.
Okay, great. So my name is Evelyn Travnik. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the Novo Nordisk Foundation Center for Biosustainability. We are a research center. We do a lot of stuff related to biosustainability, like bioproduction of chemicals and therapeutics, as well as like microbiome research, infectious disease, etc. We are headquartered in Denmark, also an international section here in San Diego. And what my group is developing is a application called Lifelike. It's basically a virtual research assistant. We're consolidating a lot of knowledge for the researchers from external resources as well as internal. And at the heart of this application is a technology called knowledge graphs. It's an emerging technology. And my prediction today is that this technology is fundamentally going to change how all organizations are going to be able to derive insight from big data and turn it into actionable insight, basically turning big data into smart data that we can understand and we can act upon. And so, like the name says, knowledge graphs, knowledge is being managed in a graphical form, which is a very natural way to manage knowledge, more like similar to what we might call a digital mind type of a technology. So it will enable us to build these digital minds into our organizations. And it is machine readable as well as human readable. That means machines can tap into knowledge to incorporate into AI algorithms, and people can browse through the knowledge to contextualize their research results or any analytics results. So we used to be building a lot of like these integrated, perfectly integrated data warehouses. Then we went to data lakes, and they often turned into data swarms. And I'm saying in the future we will be building more like these knowledge hubs that will integrate data silos that will help us to understand the results that we get back when we analyze big data. And when we do AI, we get back a lot of like black box analysis results, and being able to understand what we get back will help us do that. So as big data maybe is going to lose its sexiness, or maybe we're actually going to understand how to get knowledge out of it. Or maybe some of you don't have big data. We don't all have to have big data. But I think we're going to hear a lot more about smart data in the future. And so my prediction is that knowledge graphs is going to transform the way we derive insight from data and enable us to build augmented intelligence inside our organizations with our enterprise data.
So those are 20 words. So knowledge graph will solve data management problem. Is that simple enough to say?
I think we'll.
You're disrupting, but what are you disrupting? What is getting disrupted?
The ability to build augmented intelligence systems inside organizations, the virtual digital minds of the organization, knowing everything about the organization.
Okay. I will write, and then we will challenge.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Nimar Saikali. I'm the IT Director at Episcopal Community Services here in San Diego. We are a non-for-profit organization that provides support for homeless, for mentally ill, for substance abuse. I am the IT Director there, and my job and mostly what I am considering and paying lots of time on is cybersecurity, social engineering, and how to protect the patient health information in non-for-profits, which is becoming a huge deal around this time. There are so many regulations, so many compliance that we're trying to achieve. And my prediction is how is the shift will be with regards to the conventional social engineering shifting into the way AI is taking over with regards to artificial intelligence. Excuse me. So I'm predicting that this will increase in the future. We need to pay more attention to it. We need to deal with it way different than the way we deal with regular social engineering that we pay attention to nowadays through emails, through the normal social engineering hacks. Hackers now are depending on machinery to know our emotions, know our activities. Our information is all over social network. We use Facebook, we use LinkedIn. We do everything. A hacker is so easy can get to the information that we have. And now those machines are reading this information, they're getting it. And now they're gonna use different technology. I'm not saying that they're using it right now where I believe they are using it right now. The question is how far they got with it and what we should do and how can we be prepared to deal with it in the future.
So AI will disrupt social engineering, or AI will make social engineering almost impossible to tackle? What is is it a doomsday or is it a?
That's correct. I believe we are dealing with a phenomenon that we will be having a problem to figure out. Nowadays we're having problems even getting phone calls and finding out if it is a person talking to us or it is a machine. Google has created something called a duplex that create reservations in the past, and they've been still working on it. Hackers are getting to CIOs, to owners of companies, getting into their assistant, calling them, pretending that is the person, making a huge amount of money wiring. So that's where the deal is. We're not finding out how can we take care of it. There is deep fake right now. They're using with emotions of faces, using it against celebrities and putting it on TV, and you won't have an idea if it is real or false. So that's where the scary part comes in.
Okay, great. Pete.
Good morning, Pete Dillon, Director of IT at San Diego Zoo Global. Been there for about a year. My background is spent my entire professional career up to then in the Marine Corps. So it's been interesting making the change, but here's my prediction. My prediction is that the conversation about digital transformation will finally be over. And I say that because the conversation is going to change to the value of data. So my two colleagues here have already alluded to it. This discussion about digital transformation, many of us have sat in rooms just like this trying to understand exactly what it means. There's a different perception from everyone, what it means to them, what it means to their business. No one can nail it down, but the point of digital transformation is that it was just the first step in the journey. The conversation as a CIO is going to be, what are you doing about that data? It's going to become more challenging for us to manage it, to find value in it, how to move past intelligence to analytics, predictive, but more importantly, how to secure it and what to do about privacy, because our consumers are interacting with their own information and data more readily, especially on the cusp of 5G. So it's going to become a big deal, and we're going to have to focus on that and less on the transformation discussion.
Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim McGuire. I'm the VP of IT for JS Held. We're a professional services organization that specializes in the construction industry and everything related to it. And I've been there about a year. We're based in New York, but we have around 60 offices around the country, and several internationally. My prediction is somewhat related. The idea that I was thinking about was that, in general, less is becoming more, in that all of the services that we have access to that are not necessarily requiring expert piloting have become accessible to everybody, and as a result, they are disrupting both the businesses and the day-to-day operations. This can happen in good ways, like AP processes can be automated or accelerated. And it can happen in dangerous ways, like people can accidentally share all of the data in their organization without necessarily meaning to. So it takes a lot of care to make sure that you're looking at it the right way. To distill it down, though, I would say that computing, well, I guess I gotta make it shorter than that. Automation as a service will disrupt the back office of all businesses.
All right. Automation as a service will disrupt back office operations, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we start with you, Evelyn. Knowledge graph will disrupt building of intelligent systems, right? That's your core
turning
prediction.
big data into smart data.
Big data into smart data. Now that's your choice here and chance to challenge this prediction, ask a question, or say, yes, I agree. In what way, and this is being spoken, by the way, in 12 to 24 months time frame, right? So are you thinking that in your respective context, all your big data initiatives could be transformed into the smart data initiatives like Evelyn is talking about? If yes, awesome. If not, what would hold you back? Or you could say, are you kidding me? This is not even possible. Yeah? I mean, it can be those three flavors, right? So what would you say? Anyone who'd like to challenge or support or ask a question to that end? Because this could impact you, right? You could be using knowledge graphs. Anyone? And by the way, panelists, while you're competing, but if you want to challenge Evelyn, I'd like that. I like some fight there. Anyone? Yes. You can say it. Yeah.
So based on what we hear that, we all acknowledge that big data is not smart enough. Like, any other technology, right? There are always opportunities for making it better and smarter. And so with that, this assumption, so can you give you an example of what do you think that, a simple example, like what do you think where this, how do you make big data smarter in that specific, in your area, in your organization? You don't have to give the details of any sensitive information, just in general.
But I mean, as a company focus on, for example, in the research space, we're focusing on bringing together prior knowledge into an integrated knowledge hub in a graph database. And now we can use that so when we get back analysis results from, produce experimental data, we bring the data back, we look at it, we can now put it in the context of what we already know about whatever we're looking at, genes or proteins, etc. So we can gain a much deeper insight into the data that we generate. To give you an example actually from more the business side. So let's say we're looking at a graph of sales data. And if we're just looking at that in isolation, it's good. But if we can bring in other knowledge from like knowing that maybe at some point a competitor launched a product, that helps us maybe to understand why we're seeing a drop in our sales. So knowing other related information from the world, within our own organization.
So in today's market, there are competitors. There are market research companies. They have your competitors' data, and they are ready to sell it to you. In my industry, I do know that there are market research companies. They know our competitors' penetration in the market by zip code, by product, by price, and what we sell in that zip code and what my competitor sells in that zip code, and how much they sold in every quarter. So what is that something new we are going to do different than what is already in the market? That's my question.
Well, it's the way you store that data. You store it as knowledge that you can tap into, so to connect to your data. You store it as a knowledge graph in a graphical format. You don't have to go, we've spent a lot of time on trying to build these data warehouses, highly integrated, and every time we need to make a change is very painful. And I mean, you could drop that that market report right into a data lake. But if you actually have a knowledge graph on top of that data lake that understands the entities that we're talking about in that document that might be text, then we can better understand that text So we can pull those entities out.
Question for you, is this data visualization that you're talking about, or knowledge graph is above data visualization? Because people
can-
do data
yeah.
visualization all the time.
Yeah, it can be used to visualize data, it can be used to traverse data, so you can step through it in a visual way, like a graph, yeah, or you can...
So, okay, quick question, audience members, do you understand the difference between what you may be trying to do through big data or what knowledge graph would bring you? Like you had a question, right?
Can I add another example?
Sure,
so
please.
Today when we derive knowledge from, we're running an analytics results and we're looking at the graphs and where does that knowledge go? We usually write reports about it, or put it into PowerPoint, or we talk about it on Slack. So all that knowledge about that analysis with it goes into text. And now we're trying to reverse engineer from text the knowledge, and that's natural language processing. It's the hardest AI problem out there. And what I'm suggesting is that we need to store more knowledge as in a form that we can better consume other than text. So for example, the key takeaways from a publication when we write a research paper, if we actually expressed it as a knowledge graph, then any organization, drug company that taps into that knowledge can integrate it into their databases and traverse through it and put algorithms over it and so on. That's another example.
Okay, you're giving context to the data or the reporting that you come up.
Contextualization.
Okay, do you feel a problem with that? Do you think that will just happen and suddenly you will start doing what you're not doing for the last couple of years? Anyone? And if you're not, yeah.
Is there a way to like,
You can sit down.
validate? Do you ever see a problem with the validation of the intelligence conversion back into data? With the
So, I mean, in the graph form, actually, every so there are nodes, entities that relate to each other, have relationship with each other. Every one of those relationships has a confidence score. So you can express, I'm like, how confident am I that this is true, that something is related to something else, right? So we have facts that are high confidence, and then we have maybe predictions or something that are lower confidence. So that's actually built in. This type of things are built in.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the next. So Nimmer, your prediction was AI will render social engineering into an impossible problem. How many of you guys buy the outcome, the intended outcome of the folks who are intruders who are going to use AI? How many feel that's going to happen? Okay, so you've made a doomsday prophecy, right? Essentially, yeah. Now the thing is, we want to stay hopeful. Do you think is it going to remain an impossible problem? Do you think we're going to just sit and watch it take our identities and our allow it to play with us, or are there solutions on the way? Because it's, as per him, 12 to 24 months, it's going to become an impossible problem. Can we counter it with saying, yes, there are solutions which are already underway which will crack that problem? AI tackling AI. Is there anything on the way? Yes.
So, I mean, we're seeing it with like CCPA and some of these compliances. I think that compliances are going to dictate and change the way we see data and how we use it. Because social engineering, people are just going to put compliances over it. So we're seeing it within China around the cybersecurity laws within China. And so I just think that these compliances are going to cripple us, good and bad, really, as an organization.
Do you think compliance and enforcement is going to reduce these problems? Is it a solution, or is it more like trying to contain a virus which is not going to be contained of sorts?
I think it's containing, but I think it's also crippling organizations that are trying to do the right.
So you are, in a way, supporting the doomsday?
Not really doomsday. I think it's more of...
No, which is fine. Like, it's a position, right? You're taking a position that's not going to be a tough, not an easy nut to crack, right? Anyone else?
And
Any
again,
thoughts?
just a correction. I mean, I'm not saying it is impossible. I'm saying that it is something that I'm predicting that we will be increasing our focus on, and we have to.
We'll have to
take care
deal
of it.
with it, right?
That's right. I'm not saying it's impossible. There are many ways, but.
Okay.
I agree. I think it's going to be a race between the bad guys and the good guys, and it's going to continue. If you look at the trends, our data security departments are becoming bigger and bigger, and everything else becoming smaller. It's something that we have to deal with. It's the new norm, and it's just a race. We have to stay one step ahead spend more money on it, and that's the way it's going to be.
Okay. Yes.
So with this prediction, what happens is now these CISOs and basically the Information Security Office takes more of a front office rather than the back office. More and more investment is going to be done by organization in the cybersecurity area than what it was. Now, before it was just a afterthought. Now it has become more of a necessity, and without it, none of the organizations can survive.
Okay.
So these AIs and machine learnings that we're talking about, they're nothing but algorithms, and these algorithms have existed for a very long time. And when spam started, it was algorithm that would send out spam to everyone. And we found out how to take care of this problem with the spam filters. So why would machine learning all of a sudden change anything with social engineering? I mean, we can come up with tools that will fight it.
Yeah, I agree with this. Where we look into social engineering in the past, in my opinion, it was generated by machines and it was generated by human. People may knew about us, a few things here, the name of the CEO, the name of the director, they send the email out, and they put some information that is related. And it required some good time of a human to sit and do these things. The worry about AI taking over is the scale of hacking will be way, way bigger than we even imagine. It will be going out, it will be more innovated in a way that we will not be able to even be able to deal with it. In a way that we can put AI against AI. We can use all the machinery that we have in place, the smart way to deal with those when they come in. Or we have to deal with the other way where we can make it AI as a human, and we have to invest in our human firewall. And these are probably the weakest link in the organization, which are people. And people make mistakes. This is something we have to agree on in a way that there is nobody perfect. People are going to fall for it. And with the increased number of machinery going out there just if you think about it simple way, we have an iPhone, I have an Apple Watch. Every single thing we do since the morning till the end of the day is all tracked. Where we go, how much we work out, how much calories we put into our workout, who we met, where we went. Lots of information are out there. And when we give this information to a hacker using the machinery with regards to artificial intelligence and have it used against us, what will happen and how can we deal with this? And that's way different than just an email comes in or somebody leaves a USB on a table that we tell people don't touch it, don't put it on your computer. So that's the idea of it.
Okay. Okay, last one before we move on.
Since you talked about social reengineering kind of thing, and where I see AI playing a major role is in the deceitfulness of that. In the sense, even today, I can interview a candidate without him or her knowing that I'm testing different capabilities, through an AI machine, Without, of course, with all the disclosures, that's a different thing. But when it comes to the, kind of social platform, people can misuse that in a way, to get the data, to understand certain things from minors and other things, I'm talking about. So the deceitfulness of the artificial intelligence is where I see some kind of, issue.
So your point you're making is AI is deceitful or AI is being utilized to be deceitful? Because humans deceit. Yeah. It's less about a machine would do it.
Online, I see that, we don't realize it, but that's where it ends up being.
Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
In the past, when humans are deceitful, there are other humans who would pride themselves on their ability to detect that. And so a big part of this is detecting it. And that leads to things like, is there a set of facts we can all agree on? Like, is there a blockchain solution that can be used to authenticate celebrity videos or fingerprints or various things like that?
So
where-
solutions will follow. You're
Yeah,
saying
the solutions will
will
follow that will be of a similar scale
Okay.
to detect. Yeah.
All right. DX, data transformation conversations will shift to data conversations, right? That's your prediction. How many of you are going to reduce the scope at which you are looking at data, like digital transformation, and which has got the people, the policy, the politics, the pocketbook, the budget, the culture, the leadership, the technology, all of that, and you will reduce that to primarily data.
Can I, before you open it up,
Yeah.
I want to make a finer point, if I may. It isn't just that. It is that the conversation will change from digitization to value. So this conversation we just had was about technology, and technology is just a tool to gain advantage. That's all it's ever been. And if you view what your opponent is trying to do to you, deny, disrupt, exploit, then you realize that they're after value, right? It's about a value proposition. So that is where I think the conversation is going to be for us. And as a CIO or those who are in the information business, you don't have to compete with security. It's about how you partner to protect the value.
So you're saying the conversation will move from how, which is the mechanics, to what? What are we doing? Why?
The conversation will shift from what is digital transformation? Do I need to do it? How do you do it? To no, that was just step one. The big prize is what is the value of that?
Okay, so that was good clarity. Anyone who would like to say that in 12 to 24 months, we will have all the answers for what is digital transformation for us to shift to value? Or in what way would you like to challenge or support or ask a question about this prediction so you buy it? Because that's his prediction saying 12 to 24 months, you will not be talking about how and what. We'll talk about where's the value. Anyone? Yes.
So I'm a supporter of this supposition and the notion that there is a value proposition, and that's what we should be focused on. What do I really need to know to make the best decision? What are the inputs that will help me make the best decision for my team, for my organization, for my customer, for whatever? That transformation is the right way to go.
Okay.
I guess I work at a smaller company after having worked at a larger one, and when you talked about the AI and being able to have AI assist with the analysis of data, basically turning value out of this giant pool of data that you have, I think that's the thing that I don't think is going to happen within 24 months, is that the average company is going to have the resources or that the technology will be sufficiently advanced to be able to take large amounts of data and easily transform it in a way that now you can put analytics on top of it that will bring the value that is absolutely what we want, right? You build a data warehouse in order to, not to put a bunch of data together, but in order to analyze what's going on and see what's happening in your business. And I think that's the thing that I am skeptical of, is that anything's going to replace humans writing ETL scripts to get data transformed in such a way that you can put analytics on top of it, that there's some, that can be automated in a way. On the one hand. On the other hand, too, I think that the bad guys are highly incented to use all these tools in ways that, you know, they may outstrip the ability of us as IT professionals to protect against that. So it's kind of, anyway.
So I agree with you that we are not going to have the fully intelligent systems, but in the meantime, what we can do, we are certainly working on that and get there, but in the meantime, what we can do is equip people with the best possible knowledge about their company, about the performance of their company or anything, products, whatever.
Are you pitching your prediction again?
Oh, no, I was thinking.
I'm just kidding. It's a good response.
I think she was agreeing with my prediction.
Yes.
That's even more interesting.
I totally agree with the value, absolutely. No.
There you go.
I talk about the technology, you talk about the value.
So from my perspective, I don't think it's such a binary decision. It's not either or, that it will shift away entirely, because to this gentleman's point, in organizations that are smaller, that don't have these massive budgets, we have to do both, and the expectation is that we're doing both. that we're advancing our digital capabilities at the same time that we're, gathering all of this data and coming up with our overall plan for data analytics and management of it. So I don't know that one conversation will drop off and another will begin. It's more about, what can you do to further both agendas and bring value to the org.
Okay, we'll move on in the interest of time. And so Tim, automation as a service will disrupt back office operations. How many of you are actively using automation to fundamentally change the way you handle your back office operations? Okay, so when you said the word disruption, means everyone in the back office will go to Hawaii, automation will take care of everything. What's your scale at which you're talking the disruption?
Well, I think part of what I'm trying to say is similar to what Dan was saying, which is that there's different scales of businesses. And so while we're doing the digital transformation and embracing the data, I think that meanwhile there are smaller businesses, some of which don't have technology, some do, staff, that are going to be able to tap into this in the next year to two as all of it becomes a service that's freely available. As compute, storage, bandwidth, and automation are basically limitless at this point, and companies can make that a service that can be handed out at all scales. And so then you can have organizations that are literally ticking boxes all the time, and without a huge IT staff are going to be able to click on one app, wire it up, and then never repeat that process again. And so I see that as disruptive because then all the back office staff have that time that can lead to value.
Okay, you can start talking, sir. It'll take me a minute to get there. You can start talking.
Okay, I agree with his supposition there. Because what I have seen, we implement, RPAs in several companies, and we're seeing this huge growth in that. So all it took was, in fact, one of my friends made a comment that the video that we made on the RPA or robotic process automation went viral within the company. So it's interesting that 2 years ago, companies like UiPath, which were valued at, I don't know, maybe 30 million, 50 million, is now valued at 2 billion, 3 billion. So there's a huge growth that I'm seeing there, and it's because of the market potential. So I agree.
So you spoke about the commercial viability and the interest in the world about automation, right?
I think the company that he mentioned was mine. So we are using RPA pretty much heavily. I think the point is that once you kind of explore the possibilities in terms of what it can do, I think it just snowballs, and it kind of snowballs so much to a point that you have to start managing this transformation in a way, and this really has the ability to change your business model, and that's what's happening to organizations like mine, and he's right about that.
Okay. Yes. You're challenging because we got two supporters. Go ahead.
Well, it's a general question sort of related to that, which is to say, I've heard a lot about the boogeyman, and the boogeyman is the threat to the organization, but I don't hear much about the enabler, which is the corporate users, making poor decisions, if you will, or just not educated. And with corporate IT dealing with multiple egress points, whether it's thin clients or remote users, that enabling is a huge part of the conversion of the boogeyman. And you guys are talking about data security and so forth, and I don't hear a lot about that side of it, which I think is important in the overall scheme.
Okay.
So I would volunteer that in the organizations that have the luxury of a solid IT staff, it's our responsibility to put in DLP, like loss prevention policies that can analyze the data that is being accessed by these services. Both the value and the fear is that if there are robotic process automation services that any user can click on and then point it at their own inbox and have it mine every single email they've ever sent, that has value, and they can get a great virtual assistant out of it, and it has incredible danger as well. And so putting the right policies in place and working, not to say that governments should be doing it, because I don't think governments are fast enough to put the right policies down as law. I think the best organizations are leading with good security, and we have to help have that happen, to ask the right questions. But putting the right policies in place as an organization is very important to use it right.
Okay, we will close it. This is not a presidential debate, but you each get 20 seconds to give your final pitch to these folks so that they vote for you. Whatever selling you want to do. Was that? Can we start on the other side? You're confident. You even answered for him. You supported his predictions, so you're pretty good at that. 20 seconds or less. Your pitch starts now.
Well, I just want to add that with knowledge graphs, I'm sure a lot of you guys have not heard about it because it's an emerging technology. A lot of pharma companies out there are using it. And it's like when you don't know a car, but then you buy it and you see it everywhere. So if you actually look into it, you're going to see it everywhere. And you're going to see that you can actually derive value from it.
Again, as I said, at this point, we have to look into privacy as it doesn't exist in some situations. In one point, we will not be able to trust probably our ears or eyes to what we see. And we have to understand the threat modeling. Each organization has to sit, think about these types of technology, find out what can happen to them and how can they protect hackers getting in, protect our organizations, our families from such situations, and how can we defend it. Make a list of all these threats and what hackers can do with these technologies and be prepared.
So digital transformation and digital value are not exclusive of each other, but transformation is today. Value of data is the conversation tomorrow. It is on the horizon, and if you don't focus on it, then you're not going to be able to react to it correctly.
Automation as a service embraces the viral growth that comes when people see its value, and it will be everywhere.
Fantastic discussion. Thank you so much.